First, Nehi, let's take a look at the US markets. And it's been quite some comeback coming in from for S&P 500 as well as NASDAQ, right?
Absolutely. Remember just yesterday I was tossing to you, telling you how NASDAQ is underperforming, more than 1% cut coming in on NASDAQ yesterday. And look at how that has reversed today. Hi there, good morning. Let's talk about what the US markets were up to yesterday. Stock futures hovered near the flat line last evening after S&P 500 rebounded from a rough start to the week. Now, and after our action, FedEx popped 14% after issuing adjusted earnings that surpassed estimates. Rivian Automotive has soared 48%. We'll be telling you more about why both of these stocks have seen such stellar moves. But in Tuesday's regular trading, both the S&P 500 and NASDAQ have ended 3 days of declines, buoyed by the bounce in Nvidia shares. Of course, Shreyansi, every time we talk about NASDAQ or S&P, it has to be Nvidia. There is no talking about both of those indices without mentioning Nvidia, because what an influencer or heavyweight it has been when it comes to deciding or influencing which way both of these indices are moving. Now, the 30 stock Dow was the laggard of the three major averages, sliding nearly 300 points. On the flip side, Nvidia's jump of nearly 7% yesterday also marked its first positive session after 3 days of consecutive losses. The artificial intelligence darling's market cap gives it tremendous sway over the S&P 500, like I mentioned, and its 154% surge in 2024 has raised concerns over a lack of breadth in this year's rally. Wall Street will shift its attention towards fresh inflation data on Friday with the release of May's personal consumption expenditures price index. Remember, the Fed keeps a close eye on this metric. It is their preferred inflation gauge, and investors will remain hopeful for the prospect of rate cuts. Quarterly results from General Mills and Paychecks are due today morning, of course, US time today morning, and Micron Technology will report earnings in the afternoon US time as well. So, well, very brilliant moves coming in from S&P 500 and NASDAQ. S&P 500 up 0.4%. NASDAQ ended the day with an uptick of 1.2%. Dow Jones, however, has slipped by 300 points, 0.7% cut coming over there. Well, that was the US. Let's shift focus and talk about what the European markets are doing, and strong moves coming from the US. On the flip side, you have Europe that has been languishing away because the entire screen of the European markets is in red as of now. DAX has closed with a cut of 150 points, 0.8% lower is where that index closed. FTSE also 0.5% lower is where it has closed, and the Pan-European Stock 600 also slightly under pressure with 0.2% cut coming in on that front. Airbus was down 9%, and that is what has weighed on these European indices. And chip stocks have also been showing some volatility, because on one hand you have Nvidia doing pretty well and the European chip stocks on the others are languishing away. But while that was the handover coming in from Europe and US, Shreyansi, tell us with what's happening when it comes to oil, because I believe these global tensions, they continue to influence oil.
Absolutely, and global tensions are definitely something that we're seeing play out. But right now what you're seeing is that crude oil futures fell about 1% as the recent rally took a breather, with traders watching for summer fuel demand as well as tensions on the Israel-Lebanon border as well. Now, US crude oil and global benchmark Brent are ahead by 4.9% and 4.1% respectively for the month, as prices have bounced back from May doldrums on a more optimistic outlook for summer fuel demand. So that is the kind of picture that you have month to date. And when you take a look at the oil market, on Tuesday, we did see a slip coming in prices because the upside momentum wasn't maintained. So now when you take a look at WTI, you're looking at $80 per barrel levels, a downtick coming in of about 80 cents or about 0.1% thereabout, and year to date US oil has also gained 12.8%. On your screens, you do have the month to date percentage change that I talked about. For Brent, you do have 4.1%, and for WTI, it was 4.9%, like I mentioned. Moving on, let's also take a look at what Brent did in Tuesday's trading session, because you did have Brent being around $85 per barrel, a downtick of about $1 or about a little over a percent coming in for Brent as well. And year to date, the global benchmark is also ahead by 10.3%. The rally has taken a breather, but you do have geopolitical tensions that should prevent another rout in oil prices, because you do have tensions between Israel and Lebanon raising the risk of a disruption to crude supplies as well. Israel and the Iran-backed militia Hezbollah have threatened war in recent days after trading fire across the Lebanon border for months. Oil prices hit annual highs, mind you, in April, as Israel and Iran teetered on the brink of war, stoking fears that a wider conflict could engulf the Middle East as well. disrupt crude supplies at the same time, and prices subsequently pull back as tensions eased. Now, in terms of forecasts, of course, you do have JP Morgan that forecast Brent hitting $90 per barrel by August or September. Moving on, let's also take a look at gold then, and gold prices slipped on Tuesday, hurt by an uptick in the dollar as well as treasury yields, and even as investors awaited US inflation data due later this week. That could also be providing cues on the timing of interest rate cuts by the Federal Reserve this year. So, marginal downtick coming in for gold prices as well, Sneha.
All right.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.